So
Yeah.
I welcome you all to the second web dialogue on focusing on rural economy post COVID-19, an untapped source of jobs, growth, and development by Youth for Good Governance. The topic for today of the web dialogue is building rural entrepreneurs and creating a pro-poor value chain in the fisheries industry, challenges and scope. And today we are pleased to have with us Mr. Nilkant Mishra. Mr. Nilkant has a diverse experience working in various reputed organizations like Oxfam, and he is the CEO and founder of Center for Aquatic Livelihood, Jaljivika, which is a resource center to promote and incubate entrepreneurship, value chain promotion around aquatic livelihood system. Presently, he is the ambassador for Meaningful Business, a global community of leaders who are combating profit and purpose to help achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. We take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Nilkant Mishra. So, welcome. He is a social entrepreneur who is revolutionizing the Indian inland fisheries industry by linking farmer collectives, government schemes, resource institutes, and the market. Mr. Mishra is unleashing the full potential of the fish and water plant industry in India for the benefit of small farmers. So, sir, we begin with asking the first question that if you can give us a brief about your journey from a program officer with Oxfam to the founder of Center for Aquatic Livelihood Jivika and your encounter with the inland fisheries community. Sir, would like to know your experience on that.
So yeah, thank you, Youth for Good Governance. Means I first time when I heard about the way you people are going to deliver this, bring the youth into this sector, I was really very thrilled. And this is what is needed in bringing a new generation of organizations to boost the thing. And it has happened always. Means the organizations of 1980s era, they have handed over the issue to the new era, and then this is how the sector grows in any places. So if I say briefly about my journey, I started as a human right support person. So since 2000, I start when I started working, I was working on the tribal issue, right to food campaigns, witch hunting issue in Jharkhand, and on all those land right issue in Bihar. So that was my focus area. Look everything from the human rights perspective, and I worked in that dimension. Uh, During 2005, I joined Oxfam, and it was a first time I started looking for the livelihood sector. So my program was in Bundelkhand, where there are thousands of ponds, traditional ponds are there, tanks are there, and it was all controlled by the contractors, middlemen, the people who are from different state but not from the fishing community, and fishing group people there who were having the rights, lease right, but the entire crop was going in to all those private players, the contractors. So it was very much aligned with my earlier direction. It was a human right issue. So we brought all those fisher people together. There was lots of dharna demand was happened to give them the actual control over the ponds, and it took the entirely 2 3 year of process. By the time Madhya Pradesh state government had a new fishery policy which defines the first user right will be given to the fisher folk. So that is how people got control and access to the ponds. Now the challenges came. The moment pond was handed over, then there was a huge gap of technology. What to do next? Because contractors, they were filling the seed. They had the linkages with the seed supplier, feed supplier, and the market players. These fishermen were just as a fish workers. So now the challenge of linkages, informations, technology, all those, it was a huge gap. It was a vacuum. So that time we started working on that space, and then realized this is not the issue of just Bundelkhand, but across India, every places, fishing community, fish members, people are going through the same challenges. And that time we realized there is a scope for bringing one organization which is sector agnostic, which need to focus only on one sector, and that is how Jaljivika came forward. And we registered it in 2013 with the idea of working only on water-based livelihood system. So fish is the one crop, only one crop. There are many other products which is produced in water bodies, and which has its own commercial value. So if I give it the different example, like in brackish water in marine area, seaweed is a very much global commercial crop. In the Indian context, we look at makhana, which is grown in Bihar, which is again done by the fishing community only. In Madhya Pradesh, in Bengal, in many places, pani phal, singhara, that water chestnut. So there are different range of product. In agriculture sector, if you look at now in organic farming, every places ajola is promoted, which is a weed, which is a kind of nutrition for the crop, which is again a waterborne product. So if you look at lotus, kamal, that it all has not only the flower, but the stem is also consumed as a nutrition value. So the moment we started looking that area, we had a very different perspective. Why not we start looking all water bodies as a potential farming area. So this perspective suddenly gives you a totally different perspective for fighting for that food security and attempting for the nutritional security, because now the 70% of farming area is the water. We can see from that perspective, and there could be various like crab, crustaceans, anything can be we can add as a product. Of course, product is usually not like a land area, but yes, the moment we start looking any water body from the agriculture land, and typically what is the purpose of any agriculture land? To produce food, fodder, and fuel. That is the function of any kind of agriculture land. Either we produce food crop or fodder crop or the fuel crop. So considering that function for the water area gives a wider scope of what is aquatic livelihood segment. Then you can have the different grass, like in Bengal. You all are from mostly you are from Bengal. Uh, During Durga Puja, the ornaments of Durga Ji, that white color, that is from the shola. Shola is basically an aquatic crop. It is all produced from that aquatic crop. A typical community, a particular community collect it, and then they convert it to it as an ornament. So there are various functions. It is only need to accumulate all information and then start looking from the different perspectives. So this is what we look at the aquatic livelihood segment. And each and every crop is very much commercial in nature, very much nutritious in nature. And there is a scope of, there comes the scope of building micro entrepreneurship and engaging more and more rural people, women, landless, youths to adopt this kind of livelihood segment. So one example I would like to share, like in any pond, when we say like we are promoting freshwater fishery, so we became focused only for freshwater fishery for the two reasons. It is not like we don't want to go to the marine sector. It is already bringing a lot of employment, lot of currency to India government. Shrimp sector is bringing a lot of currency. But if you look at 90% of marine fishes and shrimp fishes, which is from the brackish water, it all goes to as a export crop. It is bringing revenue to the processor. It is bringing revenue to the export, the cold chain storage, and one part of the amount, the money goes to the farmer. Whereas in freshwater sector, if you look at 90% is consumed domestically. It is not an export crop. So if you have a small pond, suppose there is a 100 kgs of production, that's all. So 100, you may sell it on the pond side to any big trader or any market people. The moment that first transaction happens, ultimately you look at roadside and market, you are having the fish vendor who are basically selling those crops, and their capacity is like 50 kg or 40 kg maximum for one day. So every 40 kg of freshwater fishes, the last micro entrepreneur is one vendor. So in a pond, if suppose there are 1000 kg of production, 1 ton of production, be sure there are 25 people, the end micro entrepreneur you are creating. Fish farmer is the only one, but then it goes to various chains. Then there is the tempo people who bring that fish to the market. Then there are the women who sorts 1 kg, half kg, and less than 1 kg. Then there are people who do the netting. Netting takes 25% to 20% of the entire harvest goes to the netting group. So there are multi-fold of 1 pound, one hectare of pond creates nearly 8 to 10 employment in the entire chain. All those analysis is missed in the economics of fishery department or the fisheries economics. There we calculate only fish production and the market value of that fish. But in the chain, how many labor intensive task is created and people are engaged and the employment is generated, that part no one captures. That is the one of the important aspect of small scale fishery and particularly the freshwater fishery. Second thing, if you look at the Singhara, that pani phal, the makhana, and the lotus, all those are also very much commercial crop. But these crops doesn't fall under either the agriculture department, doesn't fall under the horticulture department. It is means the production happens, but it doesn't fall under any department. So there is no exact data available in India which shows the kind of revenue is generated from all those aquatic crops and the number of people engaged preliminary full-time or part-time in the entire segment. But in the village, wherever you have seen, you can just imagine how many people are engaged there. Or in the when you go to the roadside fish market, you can see how many women vendors are engaged there. So everyone's earning depends on the fish production. The first thing comes. So there comes the utility of how we train farmers so that their crop loss is reduced and each and every square feet of their pond can be utilized as a production center. Ultimately, that will feed to another employment. So it's a chain of employment, you can say. And numbers of micro entrepreneur is engaged there. Uh, and this is not at all commercial crop, like it doesn't go, it is commercial, but it doesn't go to export crop. That is the beauty. So each and every production is consumed locally in the as a domestic market. That is how it reduces, it acts as a feeder for combating nutritional deficiency in India, in rural India and any other places. So considering all those aspects, we thought let's focus only on one theme, aquatic, that's all. And that is how we started making our journey. So looking at, we are very small, we operate with the limited pockets area. After 2 3 years, we hand over the entire process to community and then we move on to the next places. And if you look at our impact right now, we are, at present, we are in 3 states, but before that, we have worked in Bankura in Bengal with Pradhan organization. We established fishery there, but once their team learned entire process, we moved to other district or other state. So we have worked in Jharkhand, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka also. At present, we are in 3 states only, and more than 4,000 women are we have brought into the fishery sector as a not as a vendor but as a producer. So this was a important aspect where normally women are not seen as doing the fishery activity or doing the netting practices. But even in one pond, if it happens, it creates a massive transformation into life of other women. So like in Maharashtra, we started only with 70 women in the first year, but by the end of 4 years, there are more than now 4,000 women, and everything happened very much organically. So that is the another good thing in fishery related enterprise what we have seen. Created more than 700 seed rearing enterprise. So this is the another thing I would like to mention. One of the biggest challenges in India is the fish seed. So like in Ramsagar of Bankura, entire village is having hatchery. Everyone produces fish seed. Like in Bengal, the entire fish seed market is there near Barakpur. And every night this market opens. One of the biggest seed market in entire Asia. But the challenge is more than 80% of the seed, best variety seed, except Rohu Katla and Indian major carp variety, everything is coming from Bangladesh. And now look at, because of lockdown, border is seized, nothing is coming. So none of the farmer is able to stock their pond. So building more and more seed producer, more and more seed supplier locally in every block, every panchayat. And there is so many pond is there. One person cannot fulfill demand for more than 50 pound. So there is an ample scope. considering if I take the example of your Mednipur, there are like more than 7,000 pond only exist in Mednipur. So there are scope of at least 70 to 80 seed supplier to work in that area, because one seed supplier, like, it's not possible to have one unicorn startup like thing in fishery. So that is my point. You cannot say that there will be only one big company and they will provide all the services. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. Small is beautiful concept only works in fishery sector. So one supplier, because of his back-end linkages, because of his time limit and the perishability of crop, you cannot hold it for longer time. You have to just finish, consume it. You have to just distribute your seed, even your freshwater fishes, whatever. So you need more and more number of people engaged in this chain. One boss cannot happen there. You need more, and you can promote as many number of entrepreneur as many. One people cannot supply entire district. Forget about the country. So that is, you can create a number of entrepreneurs, not only in seed, but in feed distribution, providing the knowledge, providing the marketing as a vendor. If we calculate that for just for one panchayat, you will see there is a ample scope to add another 100 people into the job. And that is one of the opportunity now the social sector should tap during this COVID. The people, the migrant, those who are coming, obviously they are migrant because they are landless or they don't have the productive asset. So once they are back, this kind of engagement where they can be linked to the trade services could be one added advantage to absorb those skill sets. And our future goal is, like, in next 5 years, we want to bring 1 lakh hectare of water body into the fishery sector. It's very meticulous. This 1 lakh look like a huge number. It's very small number compared. So India has nearly 71 lakh hectare of the water bodies, fresh water, in the entire country. And government says only 50 to 55% of the water body is under the fishery. So still there is a scope for adding so many, like more than 30 lakh hectare of water body is untouched. 30 lakh hectare means one person can hardly do harvesting or fishery activity in 1 hectare. So again, still there is a scope for adding 30 lakh, 3 million people into this sector, only as a farmer. Then add another 30 million as a vendor, as a supplier. So 1 crore job creation can happen only considering the freshwater fishery sector in India. So that is our target. That is what we are aiming to do, and it can happen only through the collaboration. Another our experience is fishery program should be seen as the growing fishes, growing of your food, fish as a food crop. That growth part should be the last component of this program. Then only you can see it as a value chain based fishery program. So the moment we focus only on the growing fishes, the entire focus goes to the farmer, those who are the first crop holder. But then we miss the idea of technology provider, we miss the idea of seed supplier, transporting agent, ice people, net making people, net harvesting people, roadside vendor, cold chain, supply chain. So many people are engaged, but we don't look at them. We look only the farmer who are growing fishes. So that is why if you look at any state government scheme, whether West Bengal or India government, the 90% of scheme is only for the farmer, those who are the producer, those who is growing the thing. The people who are supporting the farmer to bring their crop from village to the city, all those value chain actors, those people are missed into the program. And that is all entrepreneurship, where the role of bank, where role of facilitation agency becomes more important. And that is considering all those aspects, the entire program is based on the 4 pillars. One is institution building, where we bring all the farmers together in form of self-help group or cooperative or farmer producer company. Then the technology. So there are different technology exist in India by the ICR bodies, which farmers cannot have access to. So providing those knowledge services, and then the enabling support services through bank, through supplier, through middleman. Everyone is having their own support system importance, because of the perishability of the crop. You have to move everything very fast. So without enabling support system, uh, things cannot move in fishery sector. And then further the market intelligence. The better you know the market function, the better you can take decisions. So another example is during this COVID, you might have seen the fishes in your campus area or wherever locality if you have purchased this season, you might have seen the price is escalated. Like suppose there is 150 is the normal price, this time it is coming to 280, 300 or 250. This is because of the market intelligence. Farmers are not harvesting all in one go. They are just harvesting 50 kg, 100 kg, and then they are supplying it to vendors. So everyone's interest is uh, insured. So even if suppose 10% or 20% of crop is not sold by 2 o'clock or 1 p.m. in the afternoon, he is not into loss. Uh, Suppose it's a day event, then he can sell all 30, 40 kg, but it is half day event. So either he is coming only with the 20 kg, 15 kg, and even if something is not sold, because of the high price, keeping 50 rupees extra, he is saving his interest. And at the same time, all the marine fishes or shrimp farmer, they are crying, their crop price has gone down. Even if it is like normally the uh, pamphlet or the prawn, which is coming to like 400, 500 rupees kg. This time, the farmers are hardly getting 300, 325 rupees at the farm gate. So why? Because they are doing everything in the bulk harvesting is happening there. In inland, farmer has a rights to or has a timing, take a decision to harvest only 50 kg or 60 kg as per the local market demand. So those all market intelligence is required. So building entire program on these four pillars makes our work happens, and then we can engage more and more women. In future, if I look at this thing, so this is there, here comes your, now you can see more visibly what this the entire thing we are promoting. So look at your left hand side screen. Any panchayat, these dots are the different size, different seasonality of water body. Some water body will hold water for the entire 1 year. Some water body will hold water only for 2 months or 3 months. Some is for like 1 hectare, another is only for 100 square meter. There could be multiple kind of water body. Normally, we look at only big water body as source of doing fishery, but all those, even the smaller water body, they can become the feeder channel for your seed supply, or they can become a channel where your small size fishes you can grow. Like in Bihar, Bengal, there is a culture of consuming also like 100 gram or 150 gram of fishes is, it is preferred by the consumer. No one looks only for 1 kg or 2 kg size of fishes. That happens only in the urban area, but in rural area, even 100 grams of fish is fetching the same price, 150 or 180 rupees kg. So even if the water is available only for 6 months or 8 months, that can give a fish crop size of 400 gram or 350 grams. So there is no loss of using each and every water body for the different purpose. And then here comes the role of hatchery supplier, feed supplier, netting group, medicine supplier, then the knowledge supplier. If we look at this entire functionality that should be built within one panchayat or within one block, then here comes the idea of what we call it as a cluster level planning. So for every cluster, depending on the number of water bodies, the seasonality, water availability, drought or flood, with all those kind of risk, one can make an entire aggregated plan for the that panchayat or the block. So at this moment, all those kind of cluster development planning people do only for industrial segment, like for cloth industry or leather industry. But bringing that to the agriculture farming will add lot of entrepreneurship, lot of job employment creation in any panchayat. So as a group, you people can do, you can take any panchayat and don't take it as a planning for a fishery only, but for your agriculture also, like how many people are doing what crop, in which seasonality, and where they are selling. You can see how their treasuries can be reduced, where they can be linked for credit, for market function, and for every function, for every problem to solve. Of course, there is a role of one entrepreneur or one service provider. So those people are your micro entrepreneur, micro service provider. That is how I think in this agri sector, a lot of more than double job can be created very easily. So yeah, with this idea, I would like to open for any kind of question, answer, or the discussions.
Right. I think it was a very interesting thing to explore because even most of us are not aware of the kind of employment which this sector can generate. The questions which I want to ask you from your discussion is that one is if this sector has so much of potential, what's lacking from the policy end, and also when India is talking about self-sufficiency, so what extra policy measures or efforts should be made from the government? And second, because of this commodity being a perishable good, I think there's a lot of chance of export also. And in one of the report I have seen from the MSMEs, that only a very small percentage of this product is processed. So, what would be your comments on this? And also, I would like to ask Nazrul sir if he has any questions on the lines of his discussion.
Uh, First, I will go. You have asked a very basic question, and there lies all the challenges. Why fishery was not developed so far, having so much of huge potential. I will give one. I will quote only one example. Bangladesh. If you look at the water area, the water bodies, the entire thing is as close equal to Bihar or West Bengal. That's all. They don't have so much of more than double water area than these states. Forget about the entire India. And the fishery sector contributes 17% of country's GDP in Bangladesh. Whereas in India, it is close to 1% only. Close to, it has not touched 1%. And we have more than 30 states. And the entire water area of Bangladesh is only 8% of what India holds. 8 or 12% of what India holds. With that, it can contribute 18% of the entire country's economy. So why? Because they have tapped, they have understood the importance of this sector. And now I will share with you my viewpoint why it has not grown up in for so many years. Because of the only one reason, what I see, it was under the agriculture department, and the name was like agriculture and allied activity. This word allied was not giving any kind of prominence, importance, or policy support or investment support to this sector. Number one. Number two, since 1970 or since past like 30, 40 years, most of the fishery based activity, the role of, if you look at any kind of fishery department, their role was only two: provide lease to the cooperatives, number one, renew that lease, and number two, supply free of cost seed to the ponds. That was the only two function. The department was never given a means authority to make their own plan and then look at from different perspective, from climate change, from market. That was not given as a budgetary allocation, was not given there. So I was doing one budget analysis in 2013-14. That time 5-year plan activity related budget analysis I was doing for inland fishery sector for entire country. The budget allocated was like 80 crore or 90 crore for such a huge country. And now you divide it by each state, it will fall only hardly 5 to 8 crore. Then you look at the district, it will go down to like 50 lakh, 60 lakh. So normally fishery department's budget, annual budget, never crossed more than 5 crore in any of the state. And then you have your HR, all those functions. You cannot take those decisions. You cannot take those. So bringing everything under allied was, under the framework of allied was a major challenge for not developing of this sector. Number one. Number two, this inland sector, the crop size is always done by the small and marginal farmers, and it is sold in the rural area in domestic markets. with like 100, 150 rupees kg. Whereas the marine fishes or the shrimp, which is it takes a lot of effort to catch a marine fish to do the shrimp farming, and your crop you are fetching dollars, you are fetching the export revenue. So always it was seen as a mismatched crop in the fishery sector. Now the everyone has started seeing, because of the sea catch is going down, and at present India's total fish production 70% contribution comes from inland sector. Now people have started looking at it differently, number one. And second, last year a different department was established under the agriculture and animal husbandry department. Now fishery department is separate at central level. So we assume uh, taking it as a separate portfolio. Now the sector will be given a much due importance in all level.
And also, sir, like you are talking about building entrepreneurs and
Yes.
a lot of scope of entrepreneurship in this sector.
Mm.
As per your experience, what's the key to make community understand the importance of self-reliance through entrepreneurship, and your experience in developing entrepreneurship through your organization, LGBT?
So, like I said, we always followed the idea of small is beautiful. So, the smallest unit of fish vendors is the right size. Means we always, as a we are all means what to say, in our society we are all trained to look at entrepreneurship from a very higher perspective, where lots of investment is required, where lot of technology is engaged, where lot of venture funding and everything is accumulated, then only a startup or enterprise is called as a sun sector. Whereas in this sector, everything is in a one day your crop is consumed, in one day your marketing activities it is completed. So it gives a kind of one day business activity, that's all. If you look at, and the next day it is everything depends on your decision, your internal decision, whether you want to go for a next harvest or want to go for the next sale. So it is very much gives you a flexibility and independence, and that gives a potential to engage more and more number of people. So we basically helps farmer to increase their production. And at present the productivity in any pond is average 1800 kg to 2000 kg per hectare, whereas the potential is to take it to up to 5000 kg per hectare. So we bring at more and more productivity related, we work on that part with farmer, considering even 100 kg of production enhancement is going to bring four new vendor into this business. And then the more the volume of production increases, the more you have to engage the transporter, the ice, the netting people, the netting material, the seed people, the hatchery people. So productivity enhancement and production enhancement becomes one of the crucial in fishery to engage or basically bring in more and more entrepreneurs. Once the production size increases, then we train on the different kind of value chain technology available for the entrepreneurs to adopt and go to the market. For market linkages, uh, technology could be one of the facilitator, but yes, of course, the informal networking is still one of the best channel in India to promote the marketing. So we rely more on the traditional way of doing things, and that is how we are getting more result. So this is our understanding, means learning. Don't think of without using technology, nothing happens. Without using technology, more and more labor can get engaged into the entire sector, into this entire segment.
Right. And so, what are the different challenges faced in the supply chain management? Because you're talking about the perishability of the product,
Yes.
and how do you propose the supply chain to be more pro-poor, so that the producers can not only be the produce can not only be transported easily within India, but also can be exported to other countries with favorable revenue to the producer?
So there is two things. What has happened? Uh, the research institution in our country, they have made lot of research on the value chain, on the, means the uh, fishery related product development. Lot of thing has been done, but it has not reached to the farmer. That is the number one challenge. So bringing all those things which exist in the file in a research institute laboratory to the farmer level, it will solve a lot of challenges. If you have traveled to rural parts of the Bengal or Odisha, now you see a lot of pickles. Fish pickle is started coming to market. People are buying it. It has come as a delicacy item. Then lots of frozen food. Frozen food was always seen as a for shrimp or for the marine fishes. But now even in the freshwater fishes, lot of things are happening. Uh, the best you can look at, if you Google the product range of Lycius. Lycius is an online fish supplier. It's an online platform like Amazon for home delivery. They have brought everything, used the entire technology for cleanliness, the traceability, no chemical, no pesticide, organic good product. So that kind of aspects they have taken into this fishery sector. And you look at in last 4 years, Lycius has opened up so many branches across country, and now they are directly engaging with the cooperatives for regular supply. So it was not done because no one has thought it can happen. Always fish market was seen as if it should exist at the roadside or in a heart area. It was never uh, thought by the market community. These fishes can also bring a lot of supply chain actors, like not only the ice but the cold chain. So cold chain in India is very costly. If you look at in the rural area, establishing one cold chain, it requires investment of like 8 to 10 crore or rupees, and only the big firms can do it. But in fishery sector, because your crop harvest is not regular, it has its own seasonality, then it has its own challenges. During the festival, people don't want to keep into the cold chain, but local at locally people consumes the entire harvest. So because of all those differences in the seasonality part, cold chain facility was not considered as a importance in fishery sector. But now lot of new technology, solar based technology are coming forward, where a small, like even for 500 kg capacity or 1000 capacity cold chains can be established in 2 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees. Lot of new ice box kind of technology is coming forward, which gives life of fishes like a which works like a refrigerator. So it is all coming up. There was no R&D happened on the cold chain or supply chain part of fishes. Entire R&D was only on the productivity enhancement. Now this is a startup culture has come up where people are working on this problem to solve. So we hope in next 5 year situation in supply chain will be totally different than what we used to see this time.
So, what do you see as the short-term measure when the country is under lockdown and people are coming back to their village? How do you see the short-term measures you'd suggest to kind of boost this sector?
So, like recently, we were making one presentation to government before this thing came. So, we have proposed 4 things for immediate short-term measures to revive this sector. Number one is engage all your labor, and this is the summer month. Next 2 months is going to be the summer time. Engage all labor to re-deepening of your ponds or create more and more small water bodies in the rural area, and then give it on lease to local women's group or cooperative or the youth, but as a group where they can use that created infrastructure as a seed production unit. So this is two. Once that is done, the third thing we are proposing, in every panchayat level, there should be opening up of one fishery resource center where all technology, all the new things which is going to come in the market and market linkages all information, knowledge, everything exists, so that the farmer can go to this resource center, learn, and then have their own market linkages. They can choose whether they want to be a fish farmer or they want to be a fish exporter. So all the information, knowledge related to every trade for during the in the entire value chain, it should be available at a panchayat level. Then only more and more people in the village area will adopt this process. And the fourth immediate measure we wanted to ensure, open up the entire scheme is only for the fish farmers, mostly for the fish farmers. Open up windows of schemes for the retailers, for suppliers, for the transporter, for ice making people, everyone into the business, those who are supporting the fish farmer. Open up new schemes, even give a interest-free loan, because all those people are from the entrepreneurial background. They don't want subsidy, they want loan, but immediate loan. So bringing all those activities into the Mudra or other schemes, immediately opening up the financial availability, credit facility to everyone engaged in this sector will be pushed to all those support farmers, support systems. So these are the four things we have suggested government.
Right, sir. I think that was indeed a very eye-opening discussion. And I would also like to request Professor Nazrul if he has any question to ask before Mr. Nilkant.
Yeah, Saurabh, thank you very much for asking me to join. And thank you, Nilkantji, it was very good. And one thing I really like that you are mentioning the philosophy that you follow, that the very basic Gandhian framework of small is beautiful. I think this is what is required currently in India.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't think of technology to reduce our manpower because we have enough manpower, and we to think of work and livelihood in a very different manner so that more and more people can engage and do meaningful work. So in that regard, and thank you very much, I have a very specific action-oriented question to you.
Yes.
According to you or your group, which states have a kind of scope for the kind of fish farming or fish cultivation that you are talking about? And suppose in such an area, one youth group or one cooperative is formed and they want to engage in fish cultivation in a very productive manner, how can your group or you can help them or mentor them?
See, that is what we do. We help people to gain confidence and then transfer. So we believe in the open source ideology. So whenever if lots of people nowadays they started contacting us. Earlier we used to send our team whenever people used to ask for the support. So help them to give them the knowledge, training, make their business plan, and then the monthly action plan, what they should do, the process plan, everything we used to do physically. But now considering the new situation, it is very difficult to go and everything do at the field level. But all those things we can help to any kind of group. We prefer if it is a community activity, if there is a group of people is coming forward for asking for the help rather than individual entrepreneur, that makes our means the action more applicable at the rural area. But yes, we can help in designing their program, giving them the basic technology related knowledge transfer, monthly action plan, then their business portfolio plan, how they will move every 6 months or add new business activity. So linking them with the government scheme, what are the different scheme available, how to apply for bank and for government, all those support, whatever we used to do earlier, we can do. But yeah, through this kind of Zoom platform, through this kind of action activity, we are open for any support.
Yeah, so basically I mean, thank you. I mean, that's very helpful. So because then we can also talk to people if there someone is willing, and through Europe, then perhaps connect to you. Sure. But my earlier question was that according to you or your group, where do you see much potential of fish cultivation? You see potential, and according to you, it is not up to that as of now. They can do more.
Yeah, you want to know about the geography?
Yeah. Some of these very specific geographies.
Okay,
If
so if I say all the rainfed area in India uh, are not utilized more than 25% of the potential, so then you can consider Karnataka also, like Tumkur or the nearby area, Mysore, all those, even the Karnataka, the entire, if you look at your government budget analysis and fishery department, more than 70% budget is allocated for the marine sector. Whereas production wise, productivity wise, and uh, engagement wise, marine sector is really asking for the resources, and they can contribute more. So all rainfed state like Chhattisgarh, uh, I'm not quoting Bengal and Bihar because already there is a culture of doing fishery. Everyone consumes there. So I'm keeping it aside. But Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, uh, mm, even Himachal, uh, those states they have not utilized inland fishery possibility. Maharashtra is another example. Maharashtra has hardly utilized this sector.
okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sir.
So thank you so much,
Thank you,
guys.
Saurabh.
Any questions from your end, Pradeep or Isha? Okay. So, sir, I think that was a really nice and interactive session, and we really thank you for your time and your valuable presentation. And we would really look forward to stay in touch with you for
Thank
your
you. Yes,
guidance
Saurabh.
and your support.
Sure, Saurabh.
So it is a very small initiative from our end, and hope we take this initiative forward with support and wishes from great resources like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
We'll
Saurabh.
be
Anytime.
we are live in Facebook, and we had many viewers. And if we get any questions in
Please.
future regarding your from your discussion, we would like to send those questions through email, and probably we can share those answers whenever you have some time to answer those questions.
Sure.
So
Thank you,
thank
Saurabh.
you everyone for your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank
And
you.
we hope to get connected with you for some other session.
Yeah,
Thank you.
wish you all the best, Saurabh. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.